Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. We come to you this evening on the Mike Francesa channel on the Bet Rivers Network on YouTube after a very, very matter-of-fact and declarative Met victory over the Phillies to give them a 2-1 lead and put them in a position where they can wrap the series up tomorrow at home with Quintana on the mound against Suarez. Now, the Mets, as this magical, baseball tour of theirs continues on, and they seem to be gaining speed. Today, they get a wonderful game from Minaya. They get a home run from Alonso, who now is back to being the slugging Pete again. They get a home run from the highly emotional Winker. They get a enormous 2-run single from Marte, which really was the at-bat that broke the game open because they had the bases loaded, no out. Nola loses Alonso on a 3-2 pitch that just misses. They take him out. They get with the infield in, they get the ground to the second, they get the out at the plate. Winker doesn't get the sac fly deep enough, so now it's 2 out. They get out of that inning, they are going to be supercharged for the rest of the game and maybe see if they can get a rally going. In the bullpen, and he throws a breaking ball to Marte, and Marte, who's been swinging a very good bat and is a player who fits this postseason play very well. Doesn't try to do too much. Hits a base hit to center field, knocks in 2 runs, and breaks the game wide open. Iglesias adds a 2-run single. They add another run later on. They tack one on. And in these games, adding runs on is what makes it easy for your bullpen because you know how hard it is to get these out. So when you add on, that's the games you win going away, and the Mets do with a 7-2 win. And now they're in a position where they not only can win in front of their faithful, but they're in a position that you see a lot of times in the postseason. Here they are. They can put it away. They were underdog in the series, but everyone knew they had a chance to match up well. And let's be honest, we've talked about all these series being highly competitive. And they all are. They all 1-1 going into today's action. And they have a chance with Quintana to lock it up, because if they don't, after an off day, they go back to Philly where they will face Wheeler in Game 5. So obviously what Philly's trying to do is find a way to stay alive, do anything they can possibly do tomorrow in terms of using the roster, using the bullpen, using anybody they have to except Wheeler, knowing they can go to their ace on Friday on full rest and have a big edge in that matchup, because Senga's going to pitch, but he could probably throw 50 pitches in that game. So Wheeler was dynamic for 7 innings, 1 hit ball and 9 strikeouts, and then the Mets rally once he leaves the game. So clearly, the tables would turn dramatically back to Philly if the Mets can't close it out in Game 4. So, hey, this is what happens. The pressure now firmly mounts to the Mets. There are now expectations. It happens. When you get to the point where you're the, lovable underdog, and you have these great wins like they had in Atlanta and like they had in Milwaukee and like they had in Philadelphia, and you get to a point where you're supposed to close out a series, the scales have moved towards the Mets now in this series. This series now will be a disappointment for Met fans if they don't close it out, because they're in a position where they can close it out. And obviously, nobody wants to go back and face Wheeler in Game 5. But first things first, a raucous Citi Field tomorrow, 5 o'clock. Tomorrow there's a 4-game day. It'll start with Cleveland and Detroit, as the American League will be back in action. Then it will be the Mets at 5 o'clock against the Phillies. Then it will be the Yankees in Kansas City and the Yankees are 1-1 there right now. And then it will be the Dodgers and the Padres, who are just getting ready to play their third game right now in what is a very competitive and intense series, as you would expect. There's no love lost between those two teams. So the Mets, hey, whatever dream you've been dreaming, if you're a Met fan, it can't get much better than this right now. Alonso gets it started with a home run. Winker hits one in the upper tank to make it 2-0. And the pitching is just dynamic. They're making plays. Taylor throws a runner out at second base. They're making plays in the field. Vientos making plays behind the bag at first base. Pete's moving his feet and making the play at first base. So the Mets are doing everything right. They're pitching, they're hitting, they're getting timely hitting, they're getting clutch hitting, they're getting good defense. They are on a proverbial baseball roll right now. And they want to keep the good times rolling. And they are in a position right now to do that. Quintana pitched so well his last start. He did a tremendous job. And you like the lefties early in the game against the Phillies because it keeps Schwarber and Harper somewhat under control and gives you a chance to get something going. And the Mets get it from a lot of different places, as you know. They pack a lot of power. You know, when you got to keep everybody, you start with Lindor, and you got to keep him in the park. Then you got to keep Vientos in the park, and you got to keep Nimmo in the park. You got to keep Alonso in the park, and on and on and on. The Mets put a lot of pressure on you, and you know what? They're a team playing very, very good baseball, getting contributions from so many places, and right now they are on the brink of moving to the NLCS. So, this incredible season, which withstood so many ups and downs, which had this team 11 games under 500, which had this team fighting so many different uphill climbs, to having this team basically out of it in the ninth inning in Milwaukee, to come from behind and win there with the home run from Pete, and getting so many contributions from so many places. They now will fill the ballpark tomorrow as the sun goes down. On an October evening, they will get a chance to move this team into the National League Championship Series against somebody from the West Coast. So that's where we are right now. Yes, Wheeler's waiting in the wings. The big picture is waiting in the wings. We've seen that many times. I mean, you know when you know that guy's waiting to pitch that next deciding game. This is your game. This is the game. They get a chance. They get a free pass. They get a chance to play again no matter what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow they get a chance to push the envelope. They get a chance to take chances. They get a chance to know they're playing with a net, knowing they have a safeguard no matter what happens tomorrow. It's a very nice place to be, but it also, with that comes some pressures where the Mets know that the move here is to close this series while you have the chance, and don't go back to Philadelphia and go back and have to deal with Wheeler in a Game 5. So they will have that in front of them tomorrow. They're the hotter team. They look like the more together team. They look like the more confident team right now. They very much, and sometimes a team can be a Cinderella team that gets to a point where it's not playing Cinderella baseball anymore. See, the '86 Mets were a great team. I mean, they were a dominant team that should have won more than, they were a team over a couple of years that should have won more than one World Series. We all know that. But that year, they were an overpowering, cocky bunch. The '69 Mets were a team that is a once-in-a-lifetime team, but they got to a point where they were no longer a surprise. if you were watching them, by the time they hit the postseason, you knew they were really good. That they got pitching, defense, timely hitting, and contributions from a lot of places and were superbly managed. This Met team is good. This team is not fooling anybody. They're not doing this with mirrors. There's nothing fortunate, there's nothing lucky about what's going on here. They're a good team. And they're playing like a good team, and they're playing like a confident team. And we've long since gotten past the point where we're surprised by their starting pitching doing well. I mean, at the start of the year, it didn't look like they had all that much starting pitching, especially with Singer down. But these guys have come up and remade themselves. Severino did, came up with durability. Mania did. Obviously, we all know the story of him watching Sale from the bullpen. I mean, from the dugout. And then going down to the bullpen and deciding to throw crossfire and move on the rubber and throw across his body. And then also change his arm angle. And it has made all the difference in the world for him. So they've got guys who have remade themselves and have become very. Look what Peterson's done. I mean, Peterson used to be a guy that you wondered if he'd get out of the first inning, and look what he's become. So, over and over, you can tell these stories. You know, Vientos, Iglesias, these guys weren't even part of this team when the season started. Now they are integral cogs in this team. Vientos, Iglesias, Taylor, go down the line. That's how you build a team that has something special. Winker, Martinez, etc. They've picked people up here, there, that have contributed. Everything is fit, and now they are one game away. I know, one game away from the NLCS with a 2-1 lead against the Phillies. And that's what you'll sleep on tonight. I know it's getting crazy. You're starting to dream a dream that is starting to get extended here. And it's not only that, it's starting to get believable. Highly believable. But now, got to put the hammer down. You have the opportunity. Got to put the hammer down. Tomorrow will be a very, very. Today was a crazy day in New York, obviously. Mets win a matter-of-fact game. Jets make all the news. Tomorrow, you not only have the Mets in action, you have the Yankees in action. And the Yankees have, while the Mets will clearly be the story tomorrow in a Game 4, Yankees have their work cut out for them. They right now have to make sure that they, at worst, now they've played better at home, on the road than they've played at home. The Yankees haven't played well at home for 2 months. And as I've told you on the podcast many times, home field, Yankee Stadium, has no longer been any advantage for the Bombers. Teams have come in and won there all season, and especially late in the season. So I think they're actually been playing better on the road. So I don't think it matters that they're on the road. They obviously have to get guys hitting. They obviously have to get the big guy hitting. They have to get Witt hitting. But, hey, Witt's had 2 bad games. He's had 2 offers. One of those guys could easily break out, but the one who doesn't is going to carry that theme, that stigma. And let's be honest, the way baseball works now, that if the Yankees lose this series and Judge doesn't hit in the series, he's going to hear about it after this insane season that he just had. It is going to put a real mark against what has been a season for the ages. But now, if you don't do it in the postseason, which is no longer just 4 games or 5, 6, 7 games like it was in the old days. if you were good enough to make the World Series. The postseason was such a fleeting thing that it was not something that was examined that unbelievably. You played the World Series, you moved on. Now you play a month of games if you continue to perform, and how you perform defines you. And judges struggled. So is there a little added pressure tomorrow? Yeah, there is. I don't think there's any question about it. That comes with the territory when you hit that many home runs and knock in that many runs and play like that. Comes with the job description. But it can be a heavy weight to carry. So that's another theme for tomorrow, and what will be a very, very big wall-to-wall baseball day with 4 big games. But it starts at 5 with the Mets, who will be looking to punch their ticket to the NLCS. Yes, you can utter those words now. In the early part of October, on an October 8th today and October 9th tomorrow, the Mets can punch their ticket to the NLCS. Amazing. We'll see you tomorrow.